Good afternoon, everyone. This is about the management of public money. With serving in the House, in the Senate, expenditure of taxpayer dollars. In an environment where the cost of living is way too high, the high cost of living, fixing our broken healthcare system, but they can thrive because far too many people in this country are struggling to live paycheck to paycheck. To manage the public's money recklessly. Life more affordable. Instead, Republicans have decided billionaire donors. That's what the one big ugly bill was all about. To unleash mass and poorly trained, out of control ICE agents on American communities, brutalizing law-abiding immigrant families. That's how Republicans to manage public money. Led by Donald Trump, pledging in the Middle East, spending billions of dollars to for the American people to go see a doctor when they need one. For Americans who are working hard to purchase their first home. Of the American people. And instead, of course, the reckless thousands of dollars per year. Democrats are committed. This is the and we use it to make life better for everyday Americans. Which is what Donald Trump and the Republicans have done. Questions? Well, let's cross that bridge when we get to it, and we'll see what he has to say. On what's to come. Let's focus on what's taking place right now. Christie disaster, and House Democrats made something very clear. Or she's going to be impeached.
Does that change the ICE conversation?
Consistent with what we have demanded. Not sufficient. We need a change in policy. And we've laid out 10 different demands, but not limited to judicial warrants, a ban on sensitive locations like schools, hospitals, through criminal background checks, and actually use of force, which we've seen horrifically that ICE agents who break the law by state and local authorities. These are the type of policy changes that ICE actually conducts itself like every other law enforcement. So, of course, this change in personnel is welcome. Kristi Noem is one way or the other. Could happen. Now we still have work that needs to be done in terms of the policy changes.
Congressman Tony Gonzalez said yesterday on a podcast that he did have an affair with
If an expulsion resolution were presented before,
would House Democrats investigate Kristi Noem as an ex-cabinet
gloriously exposed by Congressman Joe Neguse in terms of the abuse of power and the corruption that Kristi that she was allowed to brazenly abuse, if not personally benefit from. Efforts led by Benny Thompson and Robert to make sure that we are looking out for that leads, it leads.
Week-long recess. Can you provide any visibility to the American people about that you have made? However, right now it just seems to be moved enough. They say we're moving in their direction. What can
Well, it's unfortunate that the Trump administration and Republicans have to and shut down TSA, then dramatically, which is what the American people want to see happen. And corrupt political hack who was running DHS when they knew she was unqualified. To talk with anyone, anytime, any place, in a position conducts itself like every other law enforcement agency in the country and stop in law-abiding immigrant families.
the last time
And as Democrats in the Congress, we got to continue to forcefully push back. In the aftermath of the general election, even though the American people view
to be able to work.
but what we have to do right now is deal with what's in front
So that he has to confirm. Can't he just work on an acting capacity, and that would mean that you have to work with him in the meantime?
No.
Thank you. Obviously, there are two votes this afternoon on the War Powers Resolution. Some of your members are seemingly wavering. How do you expect it to go? And if it does not move forward, will you then support the alternate that was also brought up?
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Right now, we're focused on securing strong Democratic support for this War Powers Resolution. We believe that Donald Trump needed to get authorization for engaging in a war. He admits it's a war. The so-called Secretary of Defense, the most unqualified person to ever hold that position as well, he acknowledges that it's a war. And the Constitution is not ambiguous on this subject. And there's a reason. The framers were very clear. They wanted to make sure that the people's house, that the most direct representatives of the American people were the ones who could weigh in on issues of war and peace, so that we could press an administration as to whether they have a plan. What's the justification for sending American men and women into a theater of war, risking their lives? As we've seen, we've already tragically lost 6 heroic servicemen and women. And we mourn for them, and we pray for their families. And we don't want to see any more American lives lost in Trump's war of choice. And so we're going to continue to engage with members over the next few hours in advance of the vote. There is going to be strong Democratic support and bipartisan support. And we're hoping that just a handful of additional Republicans beyond the 2 who have publicly said they're with us will do the right thing on behalf of the people that they are privileged to represent, so we can enact this War Powers Resolution. George Washington said in his farewell speech to the nation, and I've never forgotten this upon reading it, it wasn't there at the time, that the Constitution is sacredly obligatory upon all. That was his farewell message, final public speech to this new nation. The Constitution is sacredly obligatory upon all. That means everybody. There's no Trump exclusion. There's no wannabe king exclusion. There's no autocratic exclusion in the Constitution. It's sacredly obligatory upon all. And we just need our Republican colleagues to get some guts at this moment, as Rand Paul said yesterday. Get some guts and start acting like you're part of a separate and co-equal branch of government.
On the subject of Iran, the administration and Republicans have said there may be a need for a supplemental funding request. What is House Democratic leadership position on a potential supplemental request?
Yeah, we haven't had any conversation about the possibility of a supplemental funding request, because at the moment, the administration can't even provide a justification for why we're in this massive conflict and war in the Middle East right now. They have not bothered to make that case to the American people. And their explanations are all over the place in terms of what prompted Donald Trump's decision. In fact, most recently, the White House has said Donald Trump had a feeling. Can you believe that? A feeling. You send American men and women into war with a high likelihood of them dying based on Donald Trump's feeling? That's insanity to me. There's no evidence that there was an imminent threat to the United States of America. No evidence that they had reconstituted their nuclear program. No evidence that they have intercontinental ballistic missiles that can reach our shores. And so, before we even get to the consideration of a supplemental request, let's have the debate about how taxpayer dollars are being wasted right now. Billions spent to bomb the Middle East, triggering an all-out war that now involves more than a dozen countries, as opposed to actually Republicans bothering to find a dime to lower grocery prices or make life better for the American people. Thank you, everyone.